This program features live coverage of an African safari and may include animal kills and carcasses. Viewer discretion is advised.
Welcome to andBeyond Phinda Private Game Reserve. As you can see, we've been incredibly lucky this morning and we have found this beautiful leopard in the tree. My name is Kim and behind the camera we have Craig and we're going to be with you this morning. And I just wanted to welcome you aboard to your very own digital safari, live from the African wild. So we've got a beautiful, peaceful sight this morning. You can see this leopard has stayed in the exact same tree we found her in yesterday. She's still got an incredibly full belly. And so she doesn't seem to be going anywhere anytime soon. She's incredibly comfortable. And remember, we are actually coming to you live from the African wild. So please do send us any questions. You can send them to us at wildearth.tv or #WildEarth. Or if you're under 18, you can send questions to kidsquestions at wildearth.tv. I'm just staying quiet for a little while because I want you to hear the sounds of all these birds waking up around us. It's really the most serene setting. So I think let's just stay quiet and take it in for a little bit. Matt, that animal's been relocated, still stationary, same position. There's two here. You can start making your way. I'll move out for you. Sorry, I can't hear the name of the person who asked the question. It's breaking up a little bit my side. But the name of this tree is a bushveld saffron. And we were talking about it a bit yesterday. And it's actually one of the most perfect leopard trees. Now, if you have a look at where she's lying, you can see it's really nice and smooth. And the branches aren't actually concentrated in the middle. She's got really nice thick branches right in the middle, very comfortable to lie on, nothing that's going to get in her way. So this is why she's chosen this tree. On the outside, they've got all these lovely smaller branches with a lot of leaves, which actually provide a lot of cover for her. So if you look from far, it's very difficult to spot a leopard in this tree. So she's picked her tree really well. She's got a nice comfy spot, but is also hidden from anything walking around. Now, the main benefit of that for leopards is that they can still hunt from this tree. So if she actually, like a herd of impala or something, walks past, can walk right close to that tree, won't even see her, and then she can leap down from the tree. They actually even sometimes make kills right from the tree, jump out of the tree onto their prey. So she's chosen her tree really very well. On the other hand, it will also keep her safe from other predators. She does have some kills that were close by. I haven't seen if anything's maybe taken anything during the night, but she's at least safe from hyenas or larger leopards or even lions that might come and investigate the kill. So we're going to leave this leopard because there's a few other vehicles that want to come in and have a look at her, and we're going to see what else we can find for you this morning.
Oh, Kim is so right, and I really want to see that leopard drop from the tree hunting. I've heard so many stories about that. Here we have one of our favorites, Tingana. He's not too far from the kill that he had yesterday. I'm so glad that he's been hanging around. Gorgeous sun is just falling on him and falling, of course, on us as well. Hi, everyone, and good morning. It's me, Trishala, and I've got Gert on camera with me this lovely morning in Djuma Game Reserve. The sun's just starting to peek through. It's about 20 degrees Celsius, 68 degrees Fahrenheit. Very comfortable. It's that golden hour. It was quite damp last night, and so this really nice soft sun coming through makes for excellent pictures. Now, Tingana has moved. Tingana has moved from that spot. He was on quarantine, very close to camp. He's moved from that spot to the eastern side of Tumbeta Lodge, which is close to where Tlalamba's kill was. Now, Tlalamba is no longer at her kill, but sometimes she hangs around further away from her kill than other leopards do, quite a distance away, as long as she's got an eye on it. So maybe she's still around. But Tingana would definitely know that there's a kill in a tree nearby. In fact, I can see the tree that Tlalamba's kill is in, which is quite nice, so I can keep an eye out. But it's directly behind us, so I can't show you for now. Doesn't it look really nice and peaceful? He's listening to this morning chorus, feeling the sun bathe him. Starting to nod off. We're going to stay with him for a little bit longer. Other vehicles will want to come in too, but we'll stay for as long as we can and spend some time with our Duke.
Jumbo, everyone. Another beautiful morning from the Mara Triangle, Masai Mara, Kenya. The sun has risen, as you can see. It is such joy to see it up there. The sounds of nature are taking over. Here in the Masai Mara, the temperature today is about 15 degrees Celsius. And looks like it's going to be a very, very warm day. No signs of rain this morning. So it's just beautiful. There is a few birds calling. I don't know if you can hear them. I'm sure they're as happy, to wake up this morning, very much like I. Jumbo everyone, my name is Isaac and on camera I have Bungei. We are on a mission to try and find some cats. We have the 3 big males from Bila Shaka that are on this side. It will be nice to see them, and that's why I'm on my way this direction to see if we can find them, and then maybe later on try and find Jasiri. He's been so elusive, but I am thinking we're still gonna find him. But if we don't find him, I'm still, happy that he looked very well the last time I saw him. So I'm not very worried, but it would be nice to see him, one more time. So I'm gonna continue on my search. Let's take you to another live location.
Good morning and a warm welcome to you here in the Masai Mara. We have a young bull standing off. That's a nice shake. My name is Tim and behind camera we have Big James. Now this bull here is time to cool off. You can see how he's standing, throwing some sand on his body. He's had a vehicle coming, and that's the reason why he's just left. And he was not happy where he did that head shake. If you look at his tusk, you can see he's got mud. Seems like he had dug for dry sand, dry soil, so that he could throw on his body. So normally when I see such young bulls like this, I know that there's a big bull not far away from him. Let's see if he's heading back or maybe heading to the forest. A little bit of an ear scratch. Might be walking into the forest where there's good forage in there because of the rains. I've seen a behavior with bulls here in the Mara where at night they always walk into the forest and then walk out during the day or in the morning. Our bull is slowly going into the forest. That is where we always see Romy. So I might be in the lookout or in the search for Romy. So I'm going to take you over to another live location.
Good morning and welcome to all our viewers to andBeyond in Ngala, where we are currently busy checking down towards the central parts of the reserve. and see if we might pick up on any signs of those lions. They were heading in this direction. I am Yapi, and behind the camera we've got Sebastian. And we're heading to the sunny spots. We found tracks of a herd of buffalo earlier moving in this direction, and there might be a chance that the lions have moved over to this side to come and see if they might be able to hunt some buffalo. When we left them last night, they did look like they were quite eager to hunt something. But we also heard reports of the rest of the pride calling from somewhere much further west. And there's also a chance that they might have decided to change direction and join up with them. But along the way, we're going to head back down towards the big riverbed side, drive the roads along the banks, and see if we might get lucky with anything else.
Good morning. Welcome to Tswalu Kalahari Reserve. We've got a wonderful morning. The temperature is about 18 degrees and then total cloudy. We might have a little bit of some drops of rain. This afternoon, we expect maybe if we can find cheetahs, that would be a great thing. And then and some general game drive and see what we can see. If we after rain, it will be much easier for us to get some fresh tracks. If we get fresh tracks, then we know it's a go ahead. I'm gonna take you back to another location, and then we're gonna start looking.
Our handsome leopard is doing much of the same. Lounging about, giving us some half yawns, cleaning his paws, just enjoying his morning, much like Gert and I. He's got a paparazzi as well. Obviously think that he's a house cat. Oh, look at that. Doesn't that look really satisfying? Imagine the whiskers like itchy bits and then you get this. Oh, look at that. It looks like, oh, it looks so satisfying, especially when you imagine that as an itch by the whiskers, just getting in there. I got really roped into that scratch. Janet, you'd like to know if Tingana and Kalamba will recognize each other if they ever meet? Yes, they will, and we know that for sure because they've met plenty of times. Even as Kalamba is an adult, they've met plenty of times, and it's quite a friendly meeting. So in some way or the other they do recognize their kin, but it's something that's really difficult to measure, and because they're not social animals, will I just readjust? Because they're not social animals, you can't outright say that, oh yes, they will recognize their kin, most definitely, but our experience here in watching them has told us that they certainly are. They certainly do. The way Kalamba reacts to seeing Tingana, flop down, is very different to the way Thandi reacts when she sees Sibui. The way Thandi reacts when she sees Kalamba, same thing, very different to when they see a leopard that is not their kin. So they must somehow be able to know. Maybe it's imprinting. It's just recognizing faces. Look at that eye. It's like, yes, the other vehicle's gone now. I've got up again. I think Lalamba is nearby. She's just very well hidden. He'll give us signs if he sees or smells her. And then you'll get maybe to see that interaction, which should be amazing. It's one of the most special things when you see more than 2 leopards in one gaze. My eyes feel so kind of like tingly. Jenny, you'd like to know if he still has all his teeth? Well, leopards have 30 teeth. And unfortunately, I can't say that I've counted his. As for his incisors and his canines, all look intact. But I can't speak to any of his other teeth. I guess we can count. But that'll be very, very difficult. We'll only see incisors and canines. His teeth are in really good condition, though. If you compare his teeth... Sorry, I thought I just heard a saw. I'm just going to take my earpiece out for a second. Okay. If you compare his teeth to the teeth of Thandi, his are in better condition. Both of them have yellow teeth, but I think that Thandi's are yellower. And her canines are chipped and things like that. His are still pretty sharp. Show us your teeth. What have you seen? You can hear a guinea fowl alarming, not too far away. I'm going to try and position us so that we can see both the tree with the kill in it, Lalamba's kill, and Tingana, and hope for the best. Maybe we'll see 2 leopards.
What a morning with leopards. So back here in the Masai Mara, we're looking for Romy. This is her territory. So I just want you to listen to the beautiful sound of the Mara where I am.
We've switched it around just a little bit so I can get a view of the tree that the killer's in. But like I said, he would show signs if Tlalamba does arrive. I really hope they do, so we get to see that interaction that you guys have been asking about. I can hear woodland kingfisher. Told you I could hear guinea fowl alarming. I can hear Diederik cuckoo. Oh, hello. Where are you going now? You don't like that I stopped talking about you? Jump up, jump up. Mina Moo, that is an interesting question. He'd like to know if leopards can survive without whiskers. They will be able to survive. It wouldn't kill them if they didn't have their whiskers, but it means that an entire sense, their tactile sense, would be lost. It would be like a leopard that's blind in one eye. They'd still be able to survive, but their awareness will be substantially diminished because they'd lack whiskers. Whiskers are really important because it's almost like having fingers on your face. It's a very odd description, but it means that you can feel things on the ground. You can feel where you can fit through. You can feel if there's something that's maybe going to hurt you. If you go and sniff a scorpion and you feel the sting can't hit your whiskers, so you'll know immediately to pull away before it can get to your face. It's really important. It's a really important sense. So without them, they'll still be able to survive, but they'll lack a really large component of the information that they get about their surroundings. The whole chunk will be missing. They can still get that type of information from their paws in other areas where they'll have receptors. Tactile receptors, which basically means where they feel touch, like your hands. In fact, all over your skin. They'll still have that information. That's why I say it's like a leopard blind in one eye. Some of it is missing. That's an interesting question. I've never found a leopard whisker lying around. I did see once a really awesome little notebook that someone had made. I don't know when, 1900 or whenever it was. A little notebook with all the whiskers this person had found in their lives, sewed into the book with little annotations of when they found the whisker and what the cat was doing at the time. I wish I could do that for the leopards, but unfortunately, I'm not good at finding whiskers in the grass, much like a needle in a haystack. All right, well, I'm hoping he'll jump up onto this fallen over tree and Tlalamba comes along and there's a great big reunion. We all get to see it. So I'll sit here until that happens.
Welcome, welcome. We've left our leopard still lying comfortably in the tree, and we came across this black-bellied bustard. Now watch and listen now. Wonderful. It's a male black-bellied bustard. I can tell because I can see a large amount of black underneath the belly, even from this angle. And it's doing its territorial display call. You can see it's found a prominent sort of termite mound right out in the open area. these lovely long grassland areas are a perfect place for these black-bellied bustards. It's exactly where you find them. And what he's doing is he's busy doing his territorial display, and he'll do this for often about half an hour, with periods of every 10 to 15 seconds, but I think he's doing it at quite a bit of a longer interval. So you'll probably see him call again. There's a funny nickname for this bird called the champagne bird, because you can hear that call is like a champagne bottle opening up. What's wonderful is also to see how he's displayed his feathers. Now, if you have a look, he's put his wings down the back of his legs, and he's ruffled his feathers up. Those feathers on his back are standing as prominently as possible, and the rest are standing also on the edge. And I don't think it's because he's cold. It seems to be linked to this territorial sort of call. He seems to be making himself as big and as impressive as possible, trying to intimidate any other males that might be wanting to take over the territory, and also possibly attracting some females. If they were to hear this call and respond, they would see him as being quite a big, impressive bird, potentially want to mate with him. It's going to do it again. Beautiful. You can see as soon as he stretches his neck out, all his feathers go right back down, and then when he tucks it in, ready for another call, you can see those feathers ruffle out again, those wings expand beyond his legs. He's also looking around the entire time, so I think he is just checking for any males that are potentially going to try and take over this territory, or also any females. Nipsis, that is a termite mound. Now, doesn't seem to be active at the moment. I can't see any fresh mud that's been piled up on the top, but you'll see a lot of these termite mounds all over these wild areas. They're very important for the recycling of nutrients, and you often see animals make use of them. There's a large variety of animals that will use them as burrows. Animals such as this black-bellied bustard will use it as a lookout point. Also, cheetah will love to lie on termite mounds because it gives them a little bit of a height advantage. So they're able to see a little bit further over these open plains. Oh, look at that. Just displaying to the side for us, you can see how gorgeous this black-bellied bustard is now. Absolutely stunning. And on the left of that termite mound, you can actually see that there's some roots coming out now. They're very, very nutrient dense, these termite mounds. Termites obviously recycle a lot of nutrients, so that soil that they use to make their mounds is incredibly nutrient dense. So you often see trees or bushes that grow in them really nicely, and something's actually dug out some roots from it, so trying to feed on there. It's just the most beautiful picture this morning. As I said before, we know it's a male because you can see a lot of black under the belly. The female's sort of a light brown. She doesn't have all that black that goes right around the base there. Male's also slightly bigger, but without anything to compare it to, it could be difficult to tell the size difference unless they're standing next to each other. Hear all the different birds calling around. It's quite a cool morning, so we're actually hearing a lot of bird calls. They're continuing their dawn chorus a little bit later than normal. You'll see generally as it heats up you get less and less bird calls, but as it's a nice, cool, overcast day. They've been treating us to a number of different calls this morning. So see the patterns on the wings. It's a lovely time to actually just sort of take those in. Jean, I would say the main difference between the Kori bustard and the black-bellied bustard is the size. You know, a Kori bustard is, I think, 130 centimeters, whereas a black-bellied bustard is about 60 centimeters. So a Kori bustard's about double the size than the bird we're seeing now. Also, the Kori bustard has got sort of a little crown, a few feathers that hang over the back of its neck, giving it sort of like a trailing edge to the back of the neck, and it's got a grey neck as well. Otherwise, the base of the bird is fairly similar. You know, they both also do have a bit of brown feathers on their back, but the Kori bustard won't have this black all along the belly. It's going to have sort of a white belly with some black markings. But yeah, straight away, the biggest difference is just the size. So I think this black-bellied bustard is going to carry on doing calls for the next 10 or so minutes. But what we might do is we're going to try and check these open areas, see if we can maybe find some cheetah in this area, or see what else we can find for you this morning.
Well, good luck, Kim. I hope you can find your cheetah. I have found some lions here. And these are the Olololo breakaway of a mother and two cubs. I'm sure they are familiar to many of us. They're somewhere where you don't expect to see them. It's very long grass, and with all the rain and dew, can be very wet. They don't love water, but I think they had something to eat, and that's why they're here, or that's what brought them here. Looks like that girl there is licking her paws to get rid of excess blood, or maybe the smell of the blood. I don't know if she's gonna get up, but she looks very, very full. That looks like the mother. She's usually much, bigger than the other two girls. Yeah, cleaning is quite essential. Get rid of blood that attracts biting insects. Like, they have a fly called the lion fly. Can be sometimes, annoying, although mostly it rids other insects off the lion. But if they have blood, they'll feed on it. And also, I think too much blood on the skin does make it hard, so they need to clean it. Also, this is sometimes how they get water, lions. In very, arid areas, I have experienced and seen how when it rains, lions will, lick one another. And that's how they get water, because there is no water available anywhere. When it rains, they lick one another. So that's how sometimes they also get water. You can tell that she's got a bit of blood on her cheeks. So definitely she's reading that. And using her very, very rough tongue, she's able to do that quite quickly. Whoopee girl, how long can a lion go without eating? Completely without eating after a good meal, I would say she can go about 7 days. That's comfortable. Then she needs to eat about 7 days, I would say. But when they are really pushed by situations, I have experienced a lion that never ate for 14 days. So it depends. Either it's forceful, it's a very long time. Look at that. And volunteers for tabby rubbing lions, this is your time. Yeah, they're masters of resting lionesses. Elisa, will the breakaway pride and the main pride eat together? For sure. I did listen to a conversation earlier where, Trishala was talking about, or cats recognizing one another. Definitely they do, because I've seen situations where a lion approaches, and if it doesn't belong to that pride, they always run away. So for these girls, if the main pride was around, of course they will be received fast with a few slaps and a few actually looks that are not very good, but they will be very welcome, especially if it's something big like a buffalo. They will be much welcome. Can hear the sounds that we have here of ring-necked doves, rufous-napped lark, yellow-throated longclaw. Yeah, looks like they are following their mom. These are the cubs. When I say cubs, I mean to that female that we never saw. She's way up where the other one is. They're about 3 years old. They're adults now, and soon they'll be mating. So, yeah, lions do recognize one another, and they will be welcome to feed on the main pride's carcass if it was there. Very healthy looking, these girls. So they've been feeding very well. I must say it's a very added advantage for them just being 3, because anything, even if it's a warthog, is enough for them. So it's an advantage for them to be just 3. Well, I'm going to leave you with that side, and I'm going to continue on, see what else I can find as they disappear.
So as we were driving along, we picked up on the tracks of one young lioness, and then we were lucky enough to, in the distance, spot 3 of them. And you can see that's the young lioness. Now, I don't know if it's her tracks that we saw, but she is already having a bit of a sleep in this morning. And there is her mother. And the one in front with the back facing us, she is her sister. So this is quite an interesting family reunion. We haven't seen any other of the pride members in this area, and you can see the younger ones look like they've had a long night. They've probably been moving up and down. And have a look at the lioness. You can see she is quite alert. What a beautiful lioness indeed. See that one ear turning out to the side, listening to the sounds of the birds in that direction. You can see some of the scars on the face. Giraffe girl, the white sub-adults have not been seen lately. The other guys on the reserve is looking for them, but have a look at that. You can see that the memories are starting to show clearly. And I was just working out now, but it's about 2.5 months, 2 to 2.5 months ago that this lioness was seen mating with one of the males in the pride. And her belly looks a little bit swollen. And there might be a chance that she's pregnant. And as of late, this pride has been split up in lots of small little groups. And it's interesting how the cubs of certain lionesses have stuck with their mothers. So who knows, maybe in about a month or so,
awesome stuff. Tingana is up on the log. I'm just going to be quiet because you'll be able to hear him snarl. Two hyenas were at the base. They really riled him up. Doesn't he suddenly look like the Duke perched on top of that log? Oh, that was great. The two hyenas came to investigate him right where he was sitting. He was not happy. Look how he's supporting the weight of his butt on that part of the log. It's quite cute. I don't even know if I'm allowed to say Duke is cute. A treat to have him up like this. It's a trait of like a playful leopard, and I don't often see Tingana playing on logs like this, but of course it was out of sheer, I guess, dislike for the hyenas that he jumped on. But still, this is such a treat. We see Talamba like this, Shidulu like this, but Tingana, no. Let's just try the other side. And he's back to his spot, and he has this look of an older gentleman that got moved out of their parking space or something, or some kid sat on their couch, and then finally the kid got up and like, yes, give me my space back. That's better. So glad you managed to catch the bit of that where he was on top and the hyenas were still irritating him. Oh, magnificent. He's breathing quite heavily. I want you to hear. Hopefully you'll be able to. It is very, very, very faint. But I can hear it. It's still like... Hyenas rile you up, boy. I'm still convinced that Kalamba is around somewhere. When you sit with a leopard like this, obviously I know that he's not doing much. He's sitting down. He is essentially flat, but there's so much potential. There's the kill. We know that another leopard could be around. We know that there's hyenas around. So it's sometimes cool to just sit and wait, because more often than not in the bush, it pays off. So that's what we're going to continue to do.
Welcome back. We've left that beautiful black-bellied bustard, and we have come across such a serene scene this morning. You can see that we've got a beautiful watering hole, one of our larger watering holes that we have here at andBeyond Phinda. And you can see we've got a large variety of birds. We've got a yellow-billed kite in the tree on the right-hand side. And we're surveying the whole scene. And we've got a lot of white-faced whistling ducks, those ducks with the incredibly white face. You see a huge amount of them. They've got a really rufous belly, a bit of black on the back of their heads. Those are all our white-faced whistling ducks. Then we've got our yellow-billed storks. Those really white birds, very long yellow bill, a bit of black underneath. They're starting to go into to get a little bit of a pinkish hue. So you can see those yellow-billed storks at the back there. And on the far left, and on the close left, you see a white bird with a bit of red down the legs and a bit of a red bill. That's an African spoonbill that's busy pruning itself. And just to the left of that hippo, we've got a grey heron that's busy trying to fish. It actually might even be standing on the back of a hippo. It looks like it is. We've got some pied kingfishers that are busy swimming, going down, trying to catch a little bit of water. And we're going to sit and listen and enjoy this moment.
The lioness has put her head down now. It looks like they might be resting for a while. You can see spread out, legs spread out to the side. Wide apart. The one side facing straight towards the sun, which is covered by quite a bit of clouds this morning. Zachary, why do some cats have pointy ears and others have round ones? I think if you're referring to these lions at the moment, it might be just because of the angle that they're laying. Sometimes when they put their ears up in order to listen and clearly find the direction of where a certain sound's coming from, then it looks a little bit more rounded. And then when they turn it to the side, it looks a little bit more pointed. Also, smaller cats, they have larger ears proportionally to their head. And that looks sometimes like it is rounded. But with the big cats, generally the ears are more rounded than with smaller cats, say the African wild cat or the caracal. That might also be because of the size difference Just have a look at that. She doesn't have a worry in the world at this point. Ears aren't even twitching. It's actually quite nice weather for them this morning. And she's laying with her cheek right in the sand there. I'm amazed often at where these lions find comfortable spots to be laying down. Just have a look at that sunlight coming through the clouds up there. What an amazing sight. Definitely not a bad space to take a nap. You see the eyes twitching. Giraffe girl, that's a good question. I guess the best way to answer that would be to wait and see. At this point, we're not sure whether they're splitting or not. It's been a tough year on them. I don't think they are splitting up at this point. I think what's happening is a number of things, actually. There are different age groups within these youngsters. The young cubs, for instance, that lioness has to take care of her cubs, so she has to move with them, and they can't always keep up with the large movements of the pride. And then also, in the case of this female, she looks like she might be starting to lactate. Now, I am wondering whether she is not pregnant, and if that's the case, she might be scoping out possible den sites within the nearby area. They know this area very well. They've had cubs themselves, including help raise other members of the pride along the stretch of the riverbed. And I think she might just be moving around this area because she knows she might have to find a safe spot for her cubs or her unborn cubs. And I think the age of the two young lionesses, they're still quite young, and they decided to stick with their mother. I was also wondering the other day whether or not, because they are at the age where they're getting taught how to hunt, and they're starting to actively participate in the hunt at this stage. So it might also be that the size of the pride, they've had complications with all the young males, usually finishing off meals and things, and maybe not giving the young lionesses enough of the shares. Maybe that's also got something to do with it. But at this point, they don't seem too bothered with not having the rest of the pride around. And I'm sure they're somewhere in the area. We've had tracks yesterday. We've heard them calling not far from where this area is. And as the morning goes along, we might be able to find some of the other members split off into little groups.
Tingana has moved closer to Tlalamba's kill, keeping an eye on it, but it hasn't approached it just yet. But it's within 100 meters, maybe 50 meters of him. keeping a good eye on it. Well, we were talking about his teeth, and now sometimes he looks a little bit dopey. I hope he doesn't mind me saying that. He leaves his lower jaw to hang like he is at the moment, but gives us the opportunity to look at his teeth, except for the fact that there's a small bush oh, thank you, Tingana. Oh. So you should have 6 incisors at the bottom, 6 at the top, 2, 4, 6, thank you, Tingana, and 2 large canines there. So you can see that all at least his bottom jaw's teeth are intact. Then 1 simple molar on each side of the upper and lower jaw. Of course, we won't be able to see that. And then the premolars are modified as carnassials, which I'm sure he still has because he still chomps away very happily. So I think all his teeth are intact. Unfortunately, we didn't get to see the top. Molars and premolars have really deep roots, so they're a little bit more difficult to, kind of just fall out. So if I were to say out of old age, if you were going to lose teeth, I think the incisors would be the first ones to kind of get loose. And I think he's doing very well teeth-wise, or at all, really. His condition is fabulous. His coat looks lovely. Dr. Rocky Balboa, welcome aboard. You'd like to know if leopards get cavities? They could get a cavity, but it would be more likely a result of an infection as opposed to deteriorating tooth enamel. Because remember, the reason that we get cavities is because we eat a lot of sugary foods that slowly kind of decay away at the enamel and create these cavities. He doesn't have the opportunity to indulge in chocolates and sweets and meringues and ice cream. Those are just some of my favorites. So cavities are probably not a very common thing to find in leopards or any animal really, Archer. Our teeth gets put through a lot of artificial concentrated things that where you wouldn't find out in the wild. We'll still find sugar in the wild. We'll eat fruits and things like that, like baboons and monkeys, tapes. But the way that we eat sugar at the moment is concentrated. It's not like we have just, a bite of this, a bite of that. You're having a couple teaspoons of sugar in a glass of Coke, so it's a lot more strong. A lot stronger. That's like the difference between taking strychnine as a poison or eating a bit of black monkey orange. Do you know what I mean? One is a highly concentrated dose, and the other one is, if you eat too much of it, you will end up with a concentrated dose. Speaking of black monkey orange, it's all around us. Zachary, do leopards often pant? I know you said pant, but when I first heard it, I thought you said punt. And I was like, oh no, they're not the gambling type. Do they often pant, is what you said? Yes, they do. Lots of predators do. In fact, most predators do. The only time that they're really chilled out and very relaxed is when they're asleep. Otherwise, panting is quite normal. It helps them to regulate their body temperature. We do that by changing our behavior. where we put on clothes or we change the environment somehow by using an air conditioner, putting a fan or whatever, they adjust their temperature by changing physiological things. They pant more, stuff like that, or they move to a spot of shade, which is a behavioral change. Was it Alpha Dog that asked if leopards were endangered? Leopards are. Alpha Dog, leopards are. How lucky is it that we get to see so many animals that are endangered when we're out here on safari? The worst thing is when you look at a leopard, you can see exactly why some people who want to show that they are the king or strong or, some sort of dominance would think, oh, a leopard skin would be great to show off just how dominant I am. When you look at a leopard and you see its coat, you know exactly why, because it's so, so beautiful. When you look at this animal, you think such a symbol of strength, power, this prowess, this stealth, all these qualities that you might want to signal to other people in your area that you have. The problem is it's not necessary. No one needs to do that. But traditionally, especially across Africa, leopard skins have been part of traditional royal outfits and things like that for a long, long time. Still places you can buy things like that, which is just disgusting. Nobody needs a leopard skin except for a leopard. No one at all. Things seem to have quietened down now. I've told you about how you get a tingly feeling. Things are happening around the bush even if you can't see anything. But that tingliness for me has calmed down a little bit. So I think we'll stick with him for a few more segments and then we'll move on and see what else the bush has to offer this morning.
Welcome back to the mother. After a long search for Romy, we are not successful, but we've come across these vultures and hyena who are eating on a carcass the remains of a Topi. See, the vultures are all waiting in line to join in for the carcass, but the hyenas are not giving them space. Chasing them away. We have African white-back vulture and we have the Ruppel's griffon vulture. We also have our teeny tiny vulture, the hooded vulture, who is walking now left on the screen. Thank you, Big James. That's the hooded vulture. So there's no competition whatsoever for the hooded vulture because they have a unique way of feeding, because you find that these other vultures will be eating on the carcass, but when there's no food, sometimes you can see the hooded vulture foraging on dung. So we have other vultures that have a unique way of feeding. We have the palm-nut vulture who sometimes, if there's no food, they can eat fruits. But these other vultures specifically go on carrion. You can see the unique way. See the hooded vulture actually searching for dung piles there, while the others are still waiting for the carcass, waiting for their turn to come. The reason why we call it hooded vulture, you can see it looks like she has a hood on the back of her neck. See, the hyena is now pulling the carcass. It's time to take it somewhere away from these vultures. And he's not happy at all. Come on, get off my meal. I just want to position so we can see him fully, because the long grass is actually tough on this side. She's going to join it. The other hyena. You can see how these vultures are hungry. That carcass can be clean in less than 5 minutes. It's a feeding frenzy over here. Wow, look at that. It's reckoned that they can fill up their crop within 20 minutes. There are vultures known to carry disease. Actually, vultures help control diseases because they have very good digestive system, such that they're able to actually digest anthrax. So animals that are killed or died out of anthrax are able to be wiped out, or the carcass can be cleaned by these vultures. So vultures are not known to carry disease, but they're actually known to control the diseases, because whatever dies from any disease, old age, these vultures can eat that. So if it's not for vultures, then we'll have so many problems out here. Dear watcher, when you talk about urinating, they urinate to heal their wounds. The only thing that I know of birds who urinate on their legs are the marabou stock and other stocks, because they do what we call thermal regulation or urohydrosis. So urohydrosis is the process where they urinate on their leg to cool, that helps them cool off. But not quite sure if vultures do the same, to urinate on their legs to heal off. So that is something that I would like to find out. But what I know is birds use urohydrosis to cool off their body temperature.
From Vultures restaurant to a very beautiful but uncommon small bird called the gray-headed kingfisher. This is another kingfisher, but not commonly seen. very much like other kingfishers. They will, perch in one spot, wait for that moment or that, perfect moment to be able to go down and get something. And it's one of those kingfishers that we find here, but you have to be deep, close to the Mara River. Over here, there's a few birds that are calling that are slightly different. I don't know if you'll be able to hear them, but I'm going to give you a few seconds to listen to them. Yes, so yeah, they're quite different here from out there in the open. And actually, if I look very close to this bird, he's got the bottom beak is black and the top is red. So if you look closely, it's not actually a gray-headed, it's a woodland kingfisher. Woodland kingfisher. Apart from him, I do have other birds scattered in this beautiful marsh here. But one way of telling you that he's actually a woodland kingfisher, it's looking at that beak. When he turns, you will see black and red.
Kingfishers will depend highly on their activity or ability to hunt, while here these birds are mainly scavengers, so they don't hunt at all. So they wait for an animal to lie down dead, or maybe after lions or other predators. Like, for example, when we came here, we saw the hyenas eating. That's what they'll depend on. So they're strictly scavengers. They have very strong stomach acid that are very corrosive. So that is what gives them or allows their digestive system to digest the carcasses. Sometimes those carcasses can be of dead animals infested with cholera, bacteria, and even anthrax. So that acid helps them to really digest very, very well. So, and that makes them ecologically friendly because they wipe out that bacteria out of this environment. Within a few minutes, this carcass will be completely wiped out. You can see some of them are resting, sunning. You can see how they've opened their feather, exposing them to the sun to dry off their feathers. Russell, will the hyena bring back the carcass to the den? Sometimes the hyenas will bring carcass to their den, or sometimes the members of the families will come and feed with them, because the other name for them is laughing hyena. And when they're actually on a meal, you can hear them giggling, and that also attracts members of the family to come to that carcass. But if they have young pups, they'll always bring some food back to the den. Gracie, how do they hold their wings out like that? It's because they have on their primaries and their secondaries, those are on the margin of the feathers, they have what you call, see on the edges we have what you call fingers. So on the right edges we have what you call fingers. They look actually like fingers. So that really helps them put that in balance. And you can see on their shoulder, that margin is also very strong. So it also aids them or give them that ability to hold the feathers like that. And also the fingers on the tip of the feathers help them when they're soaring, and they're the ones that help them propel to what side they might fly to, if it's left, right, whether going up and low, just like an aeroplane, how they control the wings. So that is primarily one of the aids that help them. See, the fingers are spread out, so they're the ones that will actually hold and make sure that the feathers are sand down. Linda, will vultures eat anything? Yes, any dead animal. So any carcass, be it of a lion, be it of a herbivore, carnivore, herbivore, they go after any carcass. You can see the ears of the Topi are still intact. It's been a long time since I saw vultures devour carcass. I'm going to stick around with them here as I take you over to another live location.
Again, from vultures to another smaller bird, in this beautiful setting that I have here, very close to the Mara River. This must be caused by overflooding in the river. That is another one of my favorite birds, lily trotter, or the African jacana, a bird with massive feet. Look at them. They look like a spider's web. Do you see that? Lily trotter, one bird that is able to walk on top of lilies. Sometimes they call it the Jesus bird. And they usually in pairs. But very interesting behavior they have, where the female is much more territorial. And a very interesting behavior is that the male is the one that sits on eggs and takes care of the young ones. And the female moves on to go find another male and mates, and then does the same. So very interesting behavior with this lily trotter. Amazingly, I see more of them now, more than 10 years ago, just because these habitats have come back, these marshes with lots of water lettuce. So you can see in this pod or this pool, it's only these two, just because this is their territory. And that could be the female. She's much larger. Usually females are larger. Yeah, and they feed on small insects that are found, in these waters, mostly mosquitoes and other flying insects like dragonflies. water boatmans. They feed on those ones. Always on the move, walking on top of lilies. Very much, it's the one that can do that. And apart from them actually, we do have the hippo there. Definitely this guy has been through a lot. If you look at his skin, he has been in a serious battle, and sometimes it's nice to see the evidence. Those are scars, and they're from fighting, inflicted by those long canines adapted for fighting. And for him being out here gives them enough time to heal, because fishes are not feeding in them in the deep water. Though oxpeckers and sometimes sandpipers will land on the hippo and continue to open them up, but looks like here he's very safe, and he doesn't want to put them in the water so that the catfish and other fishes can feed on them and open them more. Apart from the hippo, I have the Egyptian geese, and she's got one gosling. Definitely, I'm sure it wasn't the only one. She has lost very many, but looks like the one there is very, very comfortable, preening itself, cleaning itself. It's that early morning hour where most birds will do that, to remove ectoparasites, so that they look healthy and they get rid of those unwanted feathers so that they can fly. Also, the little trotter is doing the same. African jacana. Where it's standing, very many birds cannot stand there. They will just sink. But because it's got those huge feet, it's able to actually almost float. Very busy looking, trying to look good. Yeah, I know it's quite nice to see him cleaning himself, but I'm gonna continue to try to find the big male lions that were seen around this area a few days ago. Apart from them, also Jasiri was seen also around this area. So it's an area that has got a lot that I can find. Note that, we've been talking a lot about the orange-leafed croton, and here you can tell why. It's got that orange leaf. It's over here. It's sort of a dying leaf. It turns that orange color, and then eventually it falls off, like just how it fell off. This is a very hard wood, and it does have a fragrance that really smells nice. So it repels a lot of insects, and hence lion and cheetahs and leopards like to sleep underneath it, because it repels all the insects. Elephants, giraffes love to eat it. It's a hardwood. It is used for building Masai huts. They weave around just before smearing, the mud or the cow dung mixed with mud. To smear that forms like a very solid wall, like cement, and it does last very, very long. Also, it is used for actually displaying meat, or when warriors are roasting meat, they use this tree to cover it, because all those insects will be repelled away by the smell, or the nice smell of this orange-leafed croton. Yes, we're leaving now the bush and we're coming out into the open. And while I do that, let's take you to another live location.
And we have come across the rest, well, not the entire rest, but another group that's part of the same pride of the lions we saw earlier. And this group has both of the white ones in it. That's the young white female. You can see quite a lot of scars on her face, on her forehead, on the back of the neck. Just have a look at the way that cheek is rolled up on the front paw. You can see the ear moving. She's definitely not fast asleep. And there's another young male. I wonder what he's looking at, because if he is, I don't think he's looking at those two. Maybe he's just zoning out, maybe he's just listening out. Might be something coming from that direction that's drawing his attention. You can see the young white male's mane developing quite nicely now. You can see that scruffy mohawk growing at the top. And it's interesting to see that it's slightly darker. Next to him is his brother. Also found a nice, comfortable, very hard, sandy patch to lay on. The positions that they choose to have their naps does indeed interest me to an extent where it makes you wonder, what did they go through during the evening to be so tired as to find any spot to lay down. Maybe it's just the fact that in the grass there might be a lot of insects, biting insects. You can see a fly around that one's face. Talking about biting insects, I think earlier on one might have asked the question to yourself, like, why would this lion have the scars? Why? And then often we end up answering it like from fights, from whatever. But the markings, especially on the neck of this one, I've noticed how, especially with older animals or when youngsters go through a rough patch where they haven't had enough to eat, they often get bitten by ticks quite a lot. And that's when they start scratching themselves. Now the claws on the back feet isn't always as sharp as the claws on the front feet, but it is still very sharp. And if it itches a lot, they'll scratch up to the point where they might even take off some of the fur and make themselves bleed.
We got a head of Gensbok. Here we've got cows and calves. Seems to be like it was a resting moment after some feeding. The Gensbok will mostly, they do their feeding to be early in the morning and in the afternoon. During the day, most of the time in the Kalahari, they will rest for quite some time. And this animal, they can go for a long time without drinking water. And then that makes them to adapt very well in the Kalahari where there's no surface water. And then they're grazers. which means they can feed on grasses, and they will also, if they found some summer melon, they will eat them. Very short fur, which helps them to can adapt also in the Kalahari. You don't need a thick coat. Otherwise, you're gonna heat up very much. And quite something interesting about the Gansbok is that they can allow their body temperature. Thank you, Jackie, for the question. They will grow their horn as soon as, let's say, almost like 6 months. Within 6 months, they should be having their horns. As I was saying, that with the Gansbok is that they can increase their body temperature to 45 degrees. What in the afternoon, what they do, they'll go up the dune to get the breeze, just to get their temperature down. And the difference between a male and female, still with males have got horns and females got horns, which makes them, the males have got thicker horns than the female. And yeah, and the other thing that makes them adapt in the Kalahari, you can see they've got a wide belly, and then which helps with the reflection of the heat from the ground. Yeah. All right, I'm gonna take you to another location. We're gonna move on.
We are here at Gallego Pan. I thought maybe we'd have a look around for Tlalamba. Maybe she's come to have a drink here. But nothing. Instead, we have a beautiful giraffe bull. Now, we will go back to Tingana, but there's a couple of places I want to go on drive today. One is I want to go through the Mawati and see if we can have a look for Owl Livia, a spotted eagle owl chick. I know that a lot of you have been concerned, so let's just go and have a good look. Give you an update on her. I'll do that straight after this beautiful giraffe. We were hoping he would come down to drink. Some lovely sounds. I'm going to be quiet because I see 2 woodland kingfishers in the distance.
Small nyama hops in the tree.
The sound is so beautiful for 1 week. The woodland kingfisher signaling to us that summer is coming, it's already here, everyone. It is the sound of summer. We've been sitting with this giraffe for about 5 minutes or so, maybe even a little more, hoping that he would drink. But we are not so lucky. Some oxpeckers. They get to catch a ride and a meal on giraffes, on everything that they land on. They look like that Warner Brothers chicken eating corn. Oh, was his name Lecorn? They look like him when they eat. Zay, you'd like to know, why did giraffes evolve to be so tall and nothing else did? Why nothing else did would be a result of whatever strategy they have working for them. So, when we say that it's survival of the fittest, it's actually not survival of the fittest, it's just survival of the fit. As long as something works for you, as long as some strategy works for you, evolution is, and nature's not going to try to improve on it unless there's a reason to. So, for example, if I'm an impala and I browse, just like a giraffe browses, but my survival is sufficient at the height at which I'm browsing, then there's no need any other mutation which would cause an evolutionary step or change. Any other mutation wouldn't make a massive difference to the survival. And the way that evolution works is that if there is a mutation, and the mutation is a favorable mutation, then those animals' survival rate is higher and they will reproduce more and stronger offspring, or higher survival rate offspring, than those that don't have the mutation. So if I'm an impala and I get a mutation and gets me a little bit taller, then I think, oh, well, I'm eating the same as the other impalas, and my survival's not better than theirs. So it doesn't make a difference, and my reproduction rate and my breeding success is the same as everyone else's. But say you are the ancestor of a giraffe, and you are around a whole lot of herbivores, and you're all eating at the same level. And then you get a mutation, and one of your offspring or something like that has a mutation, and they're a little bit longer, a little bit taller, their necks especially. So now they can eat where everyone else can't, which means that they can probably eat a lot more. If they eat a lot more, their survival rate goes up, and their breeding success goes up. So now that mutation, that is a favorable mutation, gets passed on to their offspring. The same thing could have happened for an impala or another antelope too, but that's just it. It is random. Mutations are random, and they can be favorable, but most of the time they're deleterious, which means that they will cause the death of an animal. It's not always a positive thing. It is literally a lottery. You have a plain animal, they got a mutation that made them a little bit taller by random, and it worked for them, so it stuck. That is the summary of why a giraffe is the way it is. It got a mutation that made it taller, neck longer, over a long period of time, millions of years, and through many, many different ancestors. And it worked. It meant that they could be fit. They didn't have to be the fittest. They didn't have to be the most successful. But this version that we see today is a version that managed to survive, while all other versions didn't. So something, or basically by chance, they look this way because it works. It's just like solving a problem. Sometimes you just do something random and it works. And it stays that way. That interests me a lot, the way that animals change and adapt. Linda, you'd like to know if they lie down to sleep or do they stand? They do both. Really large animals, like an elephant and a giraffe, it takes a lot of effort for them to move their body. So when they lie down, it's quite a vulnerable state. So they'll tend to lie down and sleep. Firstly, direct answer is they do both. But they will lie down to sleep when they really need the deep sleep. But otherwise, they can stand and have a bit of a nap. And they do that because they can secure their legs with something called a stay apparatus. That's not something they can purchase. That's just part of their body, or the way that their ligaments and bones can sit without effort. And they use that to stand and sleep. But when they want to get really deep sleep, then they will lie down and they'll curl their neck to rest on their bottom, which is very, very cute. You'll see that a lot more often in youngsters, and that goes for elephants and for giraffes. The youngsters will lie down and sleep often, but both adults and youngsters will sleep and stand and sleep too. They're getting a few raindrops. So, don't think it's rain roof enough, but we'll just sit for a few minutes and determine whether we need a roof. And then after that, we'll go down to the Mowati and check on Olivia.
Well, welcome back. When last we were with you, we had that beautiful view of a watering hole. We sat and appreciated it for a while, then we went off in search of something else, and as you can see, we've been successful. Really lucky to find this mother with 2 cubs. Beautiful cheetah out in our open floodplain. I always get so happy when we find cheetah here because we've got this really stunning floodplain on the reserve. It always reminds me of the Masai Mara, our very own little piece of the Mara here in Phinda. And for ages we didn't have cheetah coming through here. We actually had a pride of lion that sort of took over this area because we had a huge amount of wildebeest that would come and feed on the floodplain, and they found it was really good feeding grounds. They chased the cheetah away for a while, but as you can see, it's sort of an ideal area for cheetah to be in. And see, it's really nice and open all around them. She's got such a good view from every angle, so nothing can get close to her when she's lying here. And I think that's exactly why she's picked it. You know, she knows she's not busy hunting at the moment. They're rather resting, which means that they probably fed maybe in the last few days. And she's taken her cubs out into the safety of this open area. Always a special treat when you can see cheetah, especially with cubs like these.
So while Kim's sticking with his cheetahs, we've seen some movement now. And this young lioness has been moving up and down between all the other lions here. She looks a little bit out of place at this point. I think maybe she was just looking for a comfortable spot. We just had a few raindrops here. And not far from where these lions are, there's also a wildebeest that's been drawing their attention every now and again. You can see the young male on the left there's got his head raised up. And in the direction that he's steering, not only is the wind a very slight breeze coming from that point, but that's also where the wildebeest was calling from. And have a look at those two. On that hard ground. It's amazing how he actually makes that patch of soil looks comfortable. Now this is also an interesting dynamic here. Now, it doesn't look like much, and just like sleeping lions, but if you look, big male in the front, right behind him there's a female. And you can see he's quite close to her. She's laying flat down on her flanks, but he's kind of up with his front part of his body raised and his head put down. And you can almost feel how protective he is looking at that position. And then right at the back there, that's one of her previous sons. Oh, it's still her son. It's just one of the previous litters. And that young male, you can see, is quite far off. He's away from the rest of the pride. There's no other lions near him. And why would that be? I think personally it's because of the big male. He's probably forced him to stay at a distance. It might be that he's protective over the female. It might be that he's protective over the rest of the pride, but also just because they are not related. And in that regard, that young male is competition. Black widow spider, well, male lions that get kicked out together form a coalition. That often happens. I have seen in the past where young male lions that's on their own, the only males within a litter, that when they get to a certain age and they have to leave the pride, I've seen them attempt to try and become part of a different group of lions. Now, that's usually quite an interesting situation with lots of fighting, and eventually they might accept or they won't. That's a tricky thing though. But we have known coalitions on Ngala to exist out of non-related male lions. And I think it's kind of like a situation where they might benefit more from being more in a group. And when they weigh up their options, they decide to form the group. But there is a conception that male coalitions only exist out of related lions, which I don't think is the case. If I had to take a guess at what's happening here, there's a couple of young males here. It's at least 3, and then the fourth one, that big one there at the back. So when these 3 younger ones reach that age where they decide to leave, when they're more lions, chances of them leaving is usually a little bit higher. 2.5, 3 to 4 years, they might decide to go. And if that's the case, he might very well join with them. I don't think he'll stick around with a pride where the 2 older males that do not want him around will be. And also he's quite big. He's got a little bit more experience, so why wouldn't they want him in their group? And you can see it looks like they've all settled in now. And I think they must have had a long evening walking around. They were probably looking for the other members of the pride, trying to attempt some hunts. And I'm sure that one over there, she's shown quite a lot of enthusiasm within the hunting side of things. And I would love to see her grow up to become
Sir Agar, do you know if these are albino lions?
So Sir Agar, if I'm not mistaken, are these albino lions? They are not albino lions. They are actually leucistic lions, which means that their skin doesn't produce melanin only in the fur, in the part that the fur forms from. So they still have normal eyes. Well, it's slightly different color, but it's not normal red eyes like albinos would. And it's caused by a recessive gene, which both parents carry. You can see there's still some pigment behind the ears on the mane of that young male. I think the face is just dirty. And how incredible to see young males at this age. They sleep as if they have no worry. But give it about a year and a half, and these guys have to start moving on their own and start fending for themselves. That's when their life really starts to get difficult. And I think that's also when we will Celeste, if I got your question correctly, are these lions, these white ones, more susceptible to sunburn? That's an interesting question. I do not know. One would think so. But what I have noticed about them is that they are often the ones that stay out in the sun for longer. I've noticed when it gets very hot later in the morning, you find that the rest of the pride gets up before they do and move into the shade, where these two will stay out in the sun for slightly longer. Maybe it's got something to do with the reflective qualities of the white fur. But I think on other parts of the body, maybe around the nose area, they might be a little bit more susceptible than the rest. But I don't know for sure. As far as they're concerned, they're just another lion within this pride. You can see that's the brother of that white one. They've got the same mother, which is actually here. And they don't seem to be too worried that the one's white and the other one tawny.
Welcome back, and we have got quite a rare and beautiful sight, and what is special about it to me is you can see that these cheetah are completely fast asleep, which is really wonderful to see. This poor mother having a well-deserved break. And they are pretty alert animals. As I say that, she's really taking her shift and having a quick look around. But they do have to sort of be constantly alert, you know, being at the bottom of the predator food chain. She's always got to keep an eye out for lions, leopards, hyenas, all these things that are a danger to her and her cubs. But it is wonderful to see that she's found an area that she feels safe enough to at least lay her head down for a few minutes at a time and actually have a break. You can imagine how exhausting it must be constantly being alert and not actually having the luxury of resting for periods of time. Her cubs are certainly enjoying their nap right now. You can see the one off to the left. You can't really see the other one. It's just behind this female here. Like just at her, behind her back legs. You can see she's resting again now. That exhaustion is taking over. Oh, no, there we go. There's her second cub, waking up, suddenly realizing it hasn't had a turn and looking around for predators for a while. You can actually see she's got her back legs right by its neck. I think that might be the female. It's difficult to tell with their heads both down. Females already are a little bit smaller than the males. That's the main way to tell with cheetah. Just that the females are a bit smaller, and this female here does have a male and a female cub. So I think the one on the right underneath her back legs is the female and the one on the left is the male. And they were both born in March of this year. So they're about 8 months old now, getting towards their 9-month birthday. We've got such a lovely amount of bird activity all around us. You can hear all these beautiful bird calls. I saw just now for the first time a blue-cheeked bee-eater since I've been back. Renee, thank you for your question. Yes, they do help with balance quite a bit. They also are a way for the cats to know when they're going through too small a space. So they can realize, you know, as soon as it brushes against their whiskers that they're going into a very small sort of cavity and they might get stuck. But they also do help quite a bit with balance. And that's both the sort of the predator cats that we see and the domestic cats. This is such a lovely and peaceful sort of setting. You can hear some European bee-eaters flying around in the background. You can hear that gorgeous call of a whole flock of them coming towards us. Now it's quite sweet to see is the difference in behavior between the female and the male. You can see the mother and the young female on her right are the ones that are taking the main sort of action in terms of keeping an eye out for any predators. That male, this entire time I haven't seen him lift his head once, which is not actually great going forward, because he does have to learn to be very aware of predators, and he should already be taking the initiative to sort of take turns and looking around and scanning for predators, because as I said, they're getting close to 9 months. So this female will only stay with these cubs for another 9 months after that. You know, They often gain their independence around 17 to 18 months. And then she's going to catch something. And while the cubs are feeding on it, she's going to leave them. And then not soon after that, the younger female will leave that male. So he needs to sort of catch a little bit of a wake up and start becoming a bit more aware, taking responsibility for his own awareness. There we go. As we say that, it's almost as if he heard me. He's now popped his head up and he's helping, having a look around. Now, I think these cheetah, they're going to stay here for the rest of the afternoon. You can see that they've found a nice place to rest. They don't seem particularly active. So what we're going to do is we're going to leave them to it, and we're going to see what else we can find.
From cheetah to Topi, a quite unique antelope for Kenya and also for a few other East African countries like Tanzania and Uganda. That is the few places where you can find this beautiful antelope that at birth it is brown tawny color like the little ones you see there, but after about 6 months it starts getting those blackish grayish blotches on its side flanks, so it changes completely from the color of a young one. They normally give birth from the months of October almost to December, and that's particularly now. So these youngsters might be a month or 2 months, and they associate in big harems of females and a male, and sometimes it's just a bachelor herd of up to maybe 50 to 80. Always during mating you will find males forming a lek where they form a big circle, and they normally show dominance by raising their head and also walking in sort of a canter like this guy is doing here. So he's showing some signs of dominancy to the females. Usually females are attracted to that behavior, and if there is one in season, he will mate with the male. They live a very long time, about 18 to 20 years, and in these plains they are very, very fast. You rarely find a Topi being attacked or eaten by a cheetah, a lion, or a leopard. Hyenas mostly prey on them, surprisingly, and how they do it is that Topis sometimes tend to lie down flat on the ground and putting their head down. The hyenas are very cheeky and tricky, and also very smart. They'll walk slowly towards the Topi and surprising it by grabbing it or biting it by the groin, and they don't let go, and that's how they kill them. So hyena is their biggest predator. They have amazing senses, from sight, smell, hearing, very, very good, and running top speeds of up to 60 kilometers makes them quite, safe out here in the plains. And they're grazers, spending a lot of their time in these open plains. Those two are adults. They resemble the South African, blesbok, or they actually looks like that, but these ones are only found here in East Africa. They do migrate, and during migration we get up to about 20,000 of them roaming freely in these plains, but these ones are residents. I'm gonna move on. Let's find out what's happening somewhere else.
Welcome back. We got a journey of giraffe, almost all around us. It's almost like 10 of them, and all of them they are bachelors, old bulls, busy feeding onto the trees. As we know that a giraffe, they are browsers, then they will feed on the tree leaf, and then what they'll do is that they'll feed the whole morning, and then during the day they might rest for a few little time and continue, but most of the time it's mostly feeding with the giraffe. And the quite interesting thing is that they are not territorial like other antelope. Good question, thank you. The purpose of the horns is to compete with other bulls, mostly during when they have to fight between themselves, and they do what is called necking, and then they will sort of like clap their neck and using their horns to bump each other. That's a defensive mechanism they use. And the other, as I will add more on the defensive mechanism, they will use their legs to kick whatever that is trying to disturb them or endanger them. And giraffe, the other interesting thing about them is that they are the tallest, and then they are able to feed to the tallest tree. Then they can get all the fresh leaves at the top, not the hardy one. And and then they need water to more water frequently, which is it might be quite difficult for them because they are tall to drink water. As they drink water, they need to spread their legs so that they can get their head down and get to the water. They've got a very good eyesight, and they're very curious. You can see there, this guy is curious, he's looking to the other side of the other group. They're watching each other now, communicating between each other, asking themselves what's happening around. Very good eyesight. They can see quite a long distance. And they've got a long tongue that helps them can forage the leaves. The tongue is almost like 30 centimeter, and it makes that effective to can browse through the trees. You can see they're all watching at us. And the difference between the female and the male is where you get, the males have got much thicker ones, which has got a gray Iceland at the top, and of which the female, they don't have that gray Iceland, and then the fur will be gray, will be sort of like black at the top, and of which the male is just gray Iceland around it. Not very territorial, but they will compete for mating partners. Walking nice. You can see it's quite a nice, of which the name giraffe, which comes from the way they walking swiftly. Yeah. we're just going to take you to another location, and we continue.
Talking about giraffes not being territorial at all, I think over here we've got quite the opposite situation. And look at that male lion there in the background licking his paw. When he stood up just now, he's moved about a couple of meters. And it looks like he's got a bad injury on that front paw, on the pad underneath. And that's why he's busy licking it. And then in the front, we got the male. That is the territorial male in this area. And have a look at him picking up his head every time that one at the back's picking up his head. Even though he looks fast asleep, he's keeping an eye very, very carefully on the movements of that guy. He's already moved about 5 meters forward, which means that that's 5 meters to irritate the male in the front more. And if it gets too close, we might see some action. I think at this point that's the weather that's making them a little bit drowsy. There's also some rain coming down. Which doesn't seem to bother them too much.
Welcome back to the Mara, where we found the Olololo lionesses. See that one on the termite mound. Actually scanning the area. Very beautiful. There's another lioness just close to us. I think we have about, oh, it's a big pride. So allow me to change position for a better view, because I thought we only had one, but it seems like we have a bunch. So I'm just going to change position. For a better view. We have about 6 lions here. So it seems like a good morning right under this sausage tree. We have Kijana, we have Ulalashe, we have the collared lioness and her sisters. So Ulalashe is the one upside down, Kijana is the one to the right, and up on the termite mound, that is one of the sisters to the collared lioness. And then just below the tree there, there's another lioness. That's the one with the collar. Behind Kijana, there is another lioness sleeping there. He's rather cleaning. Ulalashe the king is enjoying his morning. You can see he has a full belly. So it seems like they've all welcomed and are happy to be with Kijana. Kijana now has formed a coalition with Olalashe. So Kijana is from the Owino. So I think they'll team up and form a formidable force in this kind of territory. The Lioness up on the termite mound. She looks pregnant. About a month and a half ago, or maybe 2, she was mating with Olalashe. So I'd say in 2 months' time, we'll have cubs from this pride. Bellatrix, what happened to Fang? Fang was ousted out. Fang was kicked off. So the last time Fang was seen, these two, Olalashe and Kijana, fought him off to where we call the Sundowner Crossing. So he maybe crossed over to the other side of the Mara River, going to the Musiara. So Musiara is a place where it's controlled by the Bilashaka males. Because they patrol big territories and multiple territories, so ousted lands or lands that have been kicked out from their pride, they always go back to pride areas that the coalition males always not go often. So he's been playing around the Ulololo and the river, and also to the other side of the Musiara marsh. Red-eyed dove calling. Sometimes they call it the Cape Turtle, Cape Turtle, Cape Turtle, Cape Turtle. Stuck in bed, do lions get cancer? I've never heard of an incident where lions got cancer, so it will be very interesting to learn and check on that. So I'll maybe pass that to my other friends, other guides, but I've never heard of lions getting cancer. The only animal that can get cancer is a hyena. And the research has been done, and they actually found out that they can contract cervical cancer. So, not heard of lions, not quite sure if lions can get cancer. Alpha dog, how fast can a lion run? A lion can run to be about, I would say 55 kilometers an hour. And that is only for a short burst. Within about 70 meters. That is how fast they can get to about 56 kilometers an hour, but they will tire off easily. That lioness looks like she's been scanning for food. Before we got them here, she was up on a tree scanning. She climbed down as soon as we got there and started walking towards where we found these lions. So thanks to her walking up on a tree, others would not have found these other lions. Sometimes when trailing lions, trailing cats, you end up finding something that you were not expecting. So this will become the resting point for the day. You can see the sausage tree has formed a very big shade for them. So it looks like they fed. Kijana has a full belly, Lasha also has a full belly. But I'm thinking that the lionesses did not get enough share. That's the reason why she was up a tree scanning. So I think maybe later today they might find something to eat. The red-eyed dove is actually singing a lullaby to this song, to these birds. And the lions, I can hear some other birds chirping. Kijana wants to find a good spot. Perfect spot. His mane is growing fast, and I'm sure by the time he's about 5 years old or 6, he'll have a full grown mane. So they have a nice spot to sleep, and they have a good access to water. So you find that when lions have a full belly like this, they always prefer going down to drink before they find another meal. Possibly this will take another 2 or 3 days, because 6 lions like this will actually have to eat regularly, and that's the work of the lionesses, to make sure that every member of the family is fed. What a nice spot to just watch these lions and to hear the beautiful songs of the red-eyed dove. So taking you over to another live location.
Good morning, wherever you are. We are watching a couple of red-billed buffalo weavers gambling about their nest as the springtime is ending and summer starts to set in. It's a rather cloudy, but becoming quite a stuffy day. Not too hot just yet, but it's getting there. Oh, there's a dove that seems to be wanting to make itself at home in their nest as well. That's a bit weird. You can see there's lots of red-billed buffalo weavers all over that nest. There'll be lots of them that live there. It's an incredibly big nest. I don't know if it's all being used at the moment or if some of it is unoccupied. Hi, I'm Mike. Behind the camera is BK, and you've joined us at Eco Training's Pridelands Conservancy. We're sitting here at Leopard Dam, where I feel like the animals have been invited to some sort of a meeting or convention somewhere, and we haven't been invited because BK and I have been driving up and down all over. And apart from a few impalas and 2 shy warthogs, we've not found even a single elephant, which is incredibly strange for Pridelands because usually we are surrounded by them everywhere we look. So we're wondering what's got them all acting a bit strange. But at least the buffalo weavers haven't abandoned us. As you can see there, the nest, there's a few sticks hanging out here and there where they perch. And there's the buffalo weaver there sitting, advertising. So that if it's a male, it'll be advertising to females that, hey, I've created a lot of nest entrances here. Ladies, come in and investigate, and if you like it, lay your eggs, or I will mate with you, and then you lay your eggs inside. Now I will be very happy. Oh, look at this. There's a brown hooded kingfisher and a young one. Oh, that's really cool. They're feeding. It's feeding it. I think it's... Do you see them just over here, BK? Oh no, they've flown off. Classic. Very shy animals, kingfishers. We saw a woodlands kingfisher earlier today, but it also... not today, sorry, yesterday, but it also flew off just as we decided to come live. So it was sitting on that branch somewhere. I think, BK, just go down a bit more and then to the right. Other way, BK. You're right. There it is, just sitting there, that part of the screen. I don't know if you can see it there, BK. Just there. Yeah. That's a brown hooded kingfisher. I'm not sure if that's the adult or the youngster, but it certainly was being fed a moment ago by another one, so I assume it's a youngster. Now, this is a brown hooded kingfisher, and they're not often catching fish, even though it's called a kingfisher. Generally speaking, jettisoning some weight before it probably takes off to fly. Now, these are most often found in woodland areas. Not necessarily, well, often near water, but not necessarily fishing. And there's a lot of different types of kingfishers, and if they all were fishing at the same water holes, well, it would be a disaster. They'd be constantly competing over a food source that would become more and more scarce, and then no one would be very happy. So these ones have decided to adapt their lifestyle to be hunting for insects. They hunt in the same way. They sit, they perch, they use their excellent eyesight to spot an insect fluttering about or moving on the ground, and then they swoop down and grab it before making their way back up to usually the same perch and repeating the process all over again. This one is looking up into the trees or just cleaning its bill there for a second. Often when they eat the food, lots of the food can get left on the bill, and if they don't keep it nice and clean, it can cause a parasite buildup. They are susceptible to parasites just like us. They can get ticks, they can get fleas, they can get all sorts of insects that buzz around them. So they need to keep themselves clean at all times. We see them regularly splashing into the water in order to rinse their fur, goodness gracious me, their feathers. This one is just so fluffy, kind of looks like fur. So fluffy, I just want to squeeze it. Hadidja, birds don't really urinate. They do excrete the uric acid build up, and it's that sort of paste. That's why when you see birds dropping, you'll see it's got a white part and usually a brown or black part. So the black part is the food, and the white part is the uric acid, which has been expelled as well. So birds are really, really good at conserving moisture. And so they are able to take as much of the moisture out as possible. So the urine is not really liquid, it's more like a solid. So it just gets excreted out of the same the same place at the same time, which makes it very neat and easy. It's especially useful for birds like this kingfisher who nest in very long tunnels in sandbanks, because the youngsters are often not able to easily get to the entrance to urinate and defecate. So if they would do it straight inside the burrow, it would become very messy and smelly and bring lots of parasites. So what the parents will often do is the youngsters will defecate or excrete, which has the urine and the droppings, and they'll be able to just take that with their bill outside, drop it somewhere away from the nest, wash themselves, and then come back to the nest and be very clean. It's quite a good system. And some birds, much larger ones like storks, will often urinate on their own legs. So their urine is a little bit less solid. It goes down their legs and creates this white film, which then helps to reflect the heat and keep them much cooler.
Welcome back. We've left those cheetah that were lying out in that beautiful big open floodplain. We've come across what at the moment is a tower of giraffe. You can see we've got quite a few standing in front of us. Most of them are just feeding. This one right ahead of us is giving us a little bit of attention. You can see it's just standing there checking us out. What's interesting behavior is that one on the far left. If you see how it's looking off to the side, it's got its ears spread out. And at first we thought maybe it's seen something, but you can see it's actually just busy chewing. So he's busy ruminating at the moment, probably just having a little scan around while he does that. And there seems to be some impala on that open plain off to the left. I think maybe that's just caught his attention. I do find giraffe quite funny. You see this one still giving us quite a bit of attention. That's exactly the sort of pose that you'll expect when they're looking at a predator. Staring straight, ears wide out, not doing anything, not ruminating, not feeding, just staring. But I think she's going to soon decide that we're not a threat, possibly join those other three that are busy feeding. Always such a beautiful sight to see these giraffe. The keeper, in terms of their relation to dinosaurs, I think it would go really far back. Nothing that I've ever heard of or read has shown like a direct link between dinosaurs. Over time, their necks have grown larger as they've evolved. So certainly I think if you were to trace them all the way back, depends on your own views with evolution, I think you'll find some correlation. What's quite interesting is that even though they're so big, they actually have the same number of vertebrae as we do. So 7. Just quite amazing, considering their neck size compared to ours. It's starting to drizzle a little bit, and you can see that they're not even slightly perturbed. Now, if we have a look at the dynamics of this group, you can see these two actually that have walked away from us. You can see that they've got hairs all the way on the top of their horns. So they are both females. And then we had that one male off to the left that was sort of ruminating a little bit ago. And you can see that the sizes of these giraffe vary quite a bit. You know, there's some smaller ones, then we had that one large one in the beginning. And so you'll often see this with giraffe. You know, they've got a loose association, so they don't have any lasting bonds. So you'll have mixed groups of females, males, old, young, and they'll sometimes be in groups, as we're seeing now, and then sometimes you'll see them wandering off by themselves. And all that happens is that this group here, you know, one or two of them will maybe spot a nice patch of green off to the left and decide that that's where they want to feed, while the rest of the group goes off to the right. and they'll part ways that easily and that quickly. And they've certainly found a nice clump of trees right ahead of them that they are all busy feasting on at the moment. See them all following that same sort of path the one's taken. Beautiful example of how that neck really does benefit. You can see that one feeding on the tree. It's sort of extending its neck as high as it possibly can, getting those hard to reach leaves that really only these giraffe are going to be able to feed on. You can get elephants that will pull down those branches, but there's not much else that will be able to feed on those leaves. And the benefit is that the trees don't produce as many tannins in the top leaves as they do in the bottom, because their main defense will go to the bottom of trees. You'll also see with thorns, often the side that's most exposed and easier to feed on will have much more thorns than the back of the tree. And that's again just the plant being quite smart about where it puts its biggest defenses. So that's one of the benefits for these giraffe having such a long neck. They can feed on the leaves with the least amount of tannins. Gives them the most sort of nutritious taste. In fact, what I was talking about with thorns, there's a good example right here next to me. If we have a look here, we look right to this tree here. You can see how many thorns there are right in the front. You can see this is where most of the animals will actually come and feed. Lots of thorns, especially in these areas. And then if you have a look at the back of the tree, where it's difficult for them to get in, very few thorns in comparison. Amazing how these plants adapt to sort of, give them the best chance of survival. And these leaves, these are ones that are more nutritious, contain less tannins than plants where you don't get these very large white thorns. And it's because the plant puts most of its defense into creating these thorns. And that's the biggest defense. So actually, if you taste these, I'm not going to, but if you do, you'll find that these don't taste too bitter. But if you would taste a plant with no thorns, let's say a magic wari, something like that, you'll see it's very, very high in tannins. Actually gives you such a bitter taste that you actually struggle to to sort of get that taste out of your mouth. You're going to have a sip of water ready and waiting. So these are the kind of things that many animals will try and feed on. So I think let us carry on. We're going to head off into these open areas and see what we're going to find. And we're going to send you to another live location.
We are away from basically anything at the moment, but there's a beautiful tree in front of us. It's one of my favorites. It's a common spike thorn. I just love the way that each one of the branches kind of fall. You can hear the soft fall of the rain as well. These trees are really, really beautiful. In fact, they're forest remnants. That's why they grow in the way that they do. They used to grow under the canopy of a forest. Because of the way that succession works, grasslands, forest, constantly fighting. And that's how we get bushveld. Something in between. Just beautiful.
Here we have ostrich, the Masai ostrich, and definitely that is a male. That was a yawn. Birds do yawn, and definitely this is a male. Males have got that pinkish plumage on their legs or body, including neck, that they get during the breeding season, which is just ending. With him are two females, and their coloration is much more duller or not as bright. They are much grayer, and also the feathers are pure gray, no other color. In birds, males do get these bright colors, and well, we do see them breeding from the months of late October, September, October, November, and so probably there is one already starting to hatch eggs. They've been hanging around this area quite a lot, and so I'm guessing we might have a nest. In the nest, it does have up to around 40 eggs, and they belong to multiple females, but usually the one that takes the role of sitting on the eggs from the beginning takes over all the eggs, and the duty is exchanged between the male and female. The male at night, the female during the day, and in about 60 days they hatch. Infant mortality is very high amongst chicks because extreme sunlight, too much rain, also predation from jackals, hyenas, leopards. They lose quite a lot. So in about 30 eggs that hatch, only maybe 10 will reach maturity. Yeah, ostriches are very defensive. Although they don't fly, they're very strong, and those legs can actually kick and at the same time peck. So they're very defensive when they have little ones. That's amazing to see it. Scratch its neck like that. J-Bay, Jumbo, do lions hunt? Ostriches? Yes, they do. Yeah, a lion would easily kill ostrich if it was able to get one. Normally, they ambush them, or they surprise them when they're sitting on a nest. Cheetahs, a coalition of cheetahs have been known to chase ostriches and hunt them down. Of course, one cheetah is not able to bring down an ostrich. It takes about 3 leopards. I have seen a leopard with an ostrich kill up a tree. Must be very heavy, but leopards are also very, very strong. So those are the few that prey on ostriches. These guys can run really, really fast, almost about 40 kilometers an hour, and they can hold that speed for quite a while. So they can get away from most predators. Apart from that, their turning is very, very sharp, so they avoid predators by running and then turning at very sharp angles. They feed on very different types of seeds from different grasses, fruits. It's gonna go to the bathroom. Or what is it? Stretch, 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 stretch. Yes. Definitely it's a male. So they feed on, different types of seeds from grasses. They feed on the grass themselves. Insects. Yeah, so they feed on very many different types of things, including leaves and shrubs. And that's what they're doing here. Their height, they can stand up to around 7 feet. Wildlife wonder, how long can ostriches go without water? I would assume it's quite a number of days. They would go, for, I would say, about up to around a week. It looks like he's scratching his head with the leg. Look at that. Yeah, up to, depends on where they are, but in arid areas, they can go a very long time. I estimate about a week without drinking. But over here, they don't have that issue. They have amazing eyesight, and it is said that the eye is so big, it's almost about, that is another yawn. So it's yawning, either want to rest or it's hungry. I'm not sure. They can see really well with their eyesight. They can also hear quite good. Yeah, those feathers are not adapted for flying, and that's why they can't fly. And I don't think they're big enough to be able to fly. They're so, spaced out, they don't have close contact like those flying birds, and so not well adapted for flying. Nice clean up there. You can tell it's starting from the base and stretching outwards. That is the only portion of their wings that has got those white feathers. It looks like he's doing a lot of cleanup this morning. Well, are ostriches related to dinosaurs? Well, they say they, originated from one ancestry because they have scales on their legs, and also the dinosaurs did have that. So they are said to originate from one ancestry. That's a fact that I have read. So they could be very closely related because of that scaly part, although these guys evolved and grew feathers. Yeah, that is the view I have here. It's just amazing. And I assume, and I'm thinking, there is a nest nearby here. I have seen these 3 hanging around here for the last 2 weeks. So there could be a nest nearby. I don't know, and maybe they're starting to hatch eggs because the male has just finished its, breeding season. Well, I'm gonna continue to check them for a little bit. Let's take you to another live location.
Welcome back to our flatlands. And it seems like they are quite much enjoying this place. A vulture just landed up on this sausage tree and spooked them all, raised their head to check what was going on, and then they went back to sleep. So right under that tree, we have the colored lioness. We call her Mama Kali. You can see her teeth protruding. That's an indication that she is pregnant. So that is an indication sometimes when we come across lionesses and you get to see the protruding teeth. So if she was nursing, there will be a black margin, a black line on the side of the teeth, and that's how we can tell if lionesses have young ones, because when lactating there'll always be a patch indicating that there's something that touches those teeth. Aditya, do lions mate for life? No, because what happens, every 3 to 4 years, a new male will come in. So you find that Olalashe is tenure will only last for about 2-3 years, because if other males come in, maybe 3 of them, they might conquer this pride and push him off. So it only lasts for about 3 to 4 years, depending on the collision. Melissa, how long?
We've done a loop. We've gone down to the Mowati and had a look for our Olivia. We've come around the Treehouse Dam looking for some elephants, hyena den, not active, and now we've come back to Tingana. I will give you an update on our Olivia and the Mowati in a moment. I just want to see how this plays out. There'll be some interesting sounds if this hyena comes closer. Oh, but no. Off it goes. Tingana is looking up at the kill. If we do go to the kill, I will let you know, because it is quite gruesome at the moment. You might want to look away if you're sensitive, but I'll let you know when we go up. There's no need to go up to the killer until he does. Anyway, an update on our Olivia. I've been through the Mowati and I've looked extensively, and so has Lauren yesterday. And I don't see anything. In fact, even the adult is not around this morning. Of course, we will keep checking that spot, but it's important to note that she has, or he can move around now, and I've seen the adults on the eastern side of the dam wall, of the Mowati drainage wall before, and the side we always look on is the eastern side. When on the western side, they're in the trees quite far into that block, so they could have moved anywhere. Considering that she's quite mobile now, she could have moved anywhere too. I think it's likely that they have relocated. I don't think that we need to be concerned about anything. That being said, we should also just keep in mind that the survival rate for owl chicks under a year old is quite bad. I know barn owls, about 70% is the survival rate, so that means 30% are likely to not make it to a year. So it's important to keep those things in mind, but then also realize that she has all that space that she can move in. And she could have easily relocated. I'm sorry if it feels really sad, and it's okay to feel sad about it because you don't know what's happened to her. But also, she's got to lead her best life. Maybe her best life means that she has to move away to a different spot. So we'll keep searching. And hopefully we'll find her, but if not, that's okay too. At least we've been getting regular sightings of Tingana here, which is awesome. Yesterday and today, hopefully you'll stick around longer. Maybe until the end of my stint. That would be great. Hi, Karen. You'd like to know if Tingana is still marking his usual territory? I have seen him scent mark, but not very often. In fact, I haven't seen him scent mark yesterday and today, but a couple of months back, one of my stints, I think it was in September, I did see him scent mark. It was either September or the stint before that. I did see him scent mark, but not a lot, and I can't say that it was his on one of the boundaries or in a patrol kind of scenario. I think it was at Gallagher Pan that I saw him do that. Oh, then it was actually a stint before, possibly August or July, August time. That was the last time I saw him scent mark. But remember, we only see him for a small portion in the day, so he can still continue to do that. But I haven't seen him yesterday and today scent mark at all. Could just be keeping a low profile, taking it easy. As you can see, he's very relaxed. Chilling. He doesn't, in my opinion, like the rain very much. I've seen him look very annoyed in the rain before. And it is starting to spit, or it has been for the last half an hour. So we're going to stick around here with him until the end of drive, I think. Still have a hope that Tlalamba will show up.
Yeah, from leopard to elephants. And we have a female over here. I think she's the matriarch. A little bit concerned about our presence. We have a few equipment that sometimes produce a humming sound, and I think she caught that sound and she's trying to figure out what it is. I don't think she has figured out. It's not the usual sound of human and vehicle only, but there's something else, and that concerned her a little bit. Look at her ear. You can see some veins. Elephant ears contain some of the thinnest skin of all elephant body, and with very many veins going through the ears, they are able to cool off by passing their blood through the ears while flapping like she's doing, so they can cool off. That's how they cool off. She looks quite healthy, this female. She doesn't have much mud. I think it has been washed off by all the rain that we have been receiving. Yeah, definitely she is warming up, and so that's why she's flapping every now and then. Apart from how we have very many of them around here, lots of young ones. Those two looks like twins, almost the same size. I won't say they're twins unless I saw them drinking, but they're very lucky to be born at the same time because they can play with one another. Very busy, eating as much grass as possible. Yeah, they look very small. Dr. Rocky Balboa, I think it's part of the cleaning process in the eye when they, continue closing and opening the eye to clean the eye. It's the process of cleaning the eye. The waste is collected there. It's a foam that's formed from, all, the eye can produce. That is what it is. It is formed there. You can tell not all of them have that, but very much like us, I would say they do the same. When you have your eye, it goes into, a different mode where it tries to produce some teardrops to try and clean the eye, and that could have been the process. She's very pregnant also, that female, and also this one, look at her. Yeah, we have lots and lots of pregnant females. I don't know what's that all about, but definitely it was communication. It looks like the mood has changed. Everybody is on the move now. That could have been the communication past. Yeah, they're still communicating. Definitely, yeah, they were told to hurry up. We need to cross the road, and that's what has happened. There is about maybe 7 little ones, different ages, from the age of 2 all the way to about maybe 2 weeks old. There is one very tiny one, could be only 2 weeks old. So these are perfect breeding herd. Definitely something was said there. Either it was, I think it's we better move, we better leave this area, and that's what has happened. The pace has changed and they have moved much faster. Looks like that guy has got a picnic for later. I don't know how he feels. He must feel very proud to be able just to stretch his trunk and pick up that as a snack as they go, while everybody else doesn't have anything. Yeah, they might look very big elephants, but their steps are their strides are very long, so they can cover a distance quite quickly. This young male has found a small pool. Using his leg, he can mix the mud and water, make it thicker, and so it can actually stick to the skin much better. It's just a quick one. Well, elephants are very smart and they are able to understand their body temperature, and when they get too hot, they will actually go into the shade or apply some mud onto their skin, and actually when it's cool, they will come out into the open to get some sun. I won't ignore the giraffe. He's just wandering, doing his own business. We have one big bull. I think he has heard the communication between the females and he's trying to catch up. These big bulls Wildlife wonder, does the matriarch kick the males out? No. If there is no female in season, males will usually just leave without being bothered. I don't know what's the reaction on this guy. Let's see. Yeah, some males can be rogue and can be very aggressive sometimes, so we sometimes have to be very careful when they come close to the vehicle. Well, wildlife wonder, matriarchs don't have to worry about males. They don't have to kick them. If there isn't any female in estrus, in a breeding herd, males don't stick around very long. They just move on. And they only try to give space when a male like this approaches. It's just like to tell him, nobody needs a male here, so you better move on. And it is quite seen and evident that they don't stay for very long. They just break away and continue on in search of a female in estrus. He might catch up, check a few females if they're coming into season, and if there isn't any, he will continue to another herd. They wander a lot, males. You never see them for very long in one area. You might see quite a good number in one patch, and then the next day there is nothing. They just disappear, especially when they reach maturity from the age of about 30 onwards. All right, I'm gonna move on. Let's take you to another live location.
Welcome back. We got a clan of meerkat. It looks like because we've been having a cloudy day, and then they just came out of the burrows now, and even the temperature was down, and that's why now they came out of the burrows very late. And around you can see that they're busy cleaning out their burrows there before they can go to forage, and it's another way of also just to check the environment if it's good to go and forage. You don't just it's not a good idea to just storm out without scanning around whether it's a good day or a bad day. And yeah, it's quite an interesting clan here because they're not used to us. You can see they're sort of like looking around, checking who's talking. But very relaxed, not. Otherwise, they should have been running inside the burrows if they were nervous. And check the other one. It's using the That's the other thing that the meerkat use to balance themselves as they're standing up. You can see they're using the tail to balance themselves, almost like a tripod. And then the other thing is that the meerkat, they will use their burrows with them. They will share the burrows with the ground squirrel. You can see there's another ground squirrel. You can see there, onto the right there. And there's another one very close to us here. They're not going to have problem with the ground squirrel because they're not competing for anything. If they were competing for resources, then there will be a big problem. Then there'll be a fight. Or if they're competing for maybe, let's say, food, yeah, that would be a big problem. And because now the ground squirrel, they are rodent. And then the meerkat, they're carnivores, which makes them totally different to compete to each other. But they will share for the burrows. Okay, we're gonna take you to another location. I can see that everybody's still cleaning their den.
Well, we have a nice tower of giraffe, or you may call it a journey of giraffe, all spread out, but quite a good number of them. The three you see on the frame there are males. Yes, thank you, Bungay. And it's quite easy to identify males from a distance. Always have those thick horns. They have that knob in front and at the back of the head of the of the horns. You can see that. So they have like two knobblies. That is an easy way. What's gonna happen there? Looks like they're afraid of that big guy. Everybody has respect for him. Maybe they've crossed his path before and they faced some discipline. Those two are the same size, but the guy to the right is much older. These are the Masai giraffe, and we are quite lucky here in Kenya. We have 3 species, or different species of giraffes. This is the most common, the Masai giraffe, and looks like they're moving from one area to the other because there is no much eating. It's just standing, and some of them are moving. We'll be sharing that with you. I don't know if these guys are gonna get into a fight. This is how a fight is picked up. Starting to rub one another's back, the neck, and then eventually it becomes a fully blown out fight. It looks like they've decided not to perform in front of us, but we have more to talk about. They're all over here. And most of these are females, so the males have gone ahead, but the rest are all females. Quite a good number of them. A few weeks ago, I saw a very big journey, and I think this could have been part of that. They're coming back. They had, really gone out of the conservancy, but looks like they're coming back. As they move over there, they are browsing as they head towards where they think they're going. I don't know exactly where they're going, but definitely they are on the move, heading somewhere, maybe towards Already, giraffes have, their young ones over here just before the rainy season, and in areas where there's plenty to eat, like over here close to the marsh, we see young ones year around. So there's no specific season, and they carry their young for about 14 to 15 months. Such a long time, but it is also a very big animal. Fully grown female will weigh up to around 1,300 to 1,500 kilos. Males up to almost 1,800. So they're big. The gestation period is also longer. And the young ones at birth, most of them stand taller than us, up to around 7-8 feet. Yeah, I think a fight is being picked up there. Like I said, it's starting to brew slowly. The fights can be quite intense, and some of them can be fatal. 2 years ago, we experienced where 2 males fought to death. It is not clear under what circumstances they died, but my guess was due to exhaustion, one fell on the other and it couldn't wake up, and so both of them died. It was very, very strange. I saw it, and I cannot explain, how and what caused it. You see, yeah, that's still picking a fight, trying to mock-mate the other. Sometimes it's trying to annoy it. You can see that. Yeah, during fighting, those necks move at lightning speeds, bending to hit mostly the other one's head. Sometimes they try to hit the legs. Sometimes actually they lift one another's leg and trying to wrestle one down. Well, it's a beautiful sight that I have here, but let's take you to another live location.
Welcome back to this side of the Mara, from the tall giraffe to the biggest land mammal. Elephant bulls are slowly grazing here at the marsh. You can see the grass is soft. They're pulling it with ease. There's lots of water because elephants depend on water daily. So they have to sometimes drink twice a day, in the morning or maybe in the afternoon and late afternoon. Just hear them plucking the grass. So these bulls will always be in 5. So I always call them the musketeers, because sometimes we find them at the main crossing, we find them here at the Ololo Pride area, we find them at the Owino. So the bulls walk long distances, and because elephants are not territorial, they cover big home ranges, and these home ranges are utilized as territory sometimes. Yesterday we happened to come across a big bull that was in mask. So he's from this group of bachelors, and the reason why they have masks sometimes is to heighten the hierarchy within the bachelor herd. I've always seen these bulls walking over to that mini forest on the edge there, and then in the morning coming out of that forest.
Still here with the gorgeous boy. It's truly a beautiful morning out here in Djuma today. So many wonderful birds, the weather is perfect. A little bit of rain to remind you that you are alive. He was looking at a Burchell starling when he did that. He saw a woodland kingfisher as well that irritated him, which was quite entertaining. We were hoping it would stick around. We think that he's trying to summon up the courage to get up there because the tree, and you might see the carcass now, so if you are sensitive, you might want to look away just momentarily. I'll tell you when you can look back. The tree is quite tall. At least 4 or 5 meters tall, or 5 meters high, where the impala is. It's not a lamb, but the impala is up there, and it's straight. You see that? So there's only one real area that he could put his foot in. If you're sensitive, you can look back now. And I think he's trying to summon up the courage to get there. There's that little foot. Oh, we're going to see the carcass again. Look away. There it is. Quite high up and very straight. So maybe he's waiting for us to leave, so he doesn't have to feel embarrassed about how clumsy he may look getting up there. We saw Tlalamba yesterday on the dismount and getting up. That it was quite a difficult thing, even for her, but she did very well. So for Tingana, I mean, I'd love to see it, but I don't think he's going to do it for us this morning, at least. Lauren, you'd like to know how old is Tingana? Tingana was born in 2006, so 14, but that was an estimated age from the first time that we saw him. So nobody, or at least none of us, knew when he was born exactly. The age was just estimated from the first time that he was seen, and it was estimated that he was born in 2006. So he's definitely an older leopard, but he's in fabulous condition. Also, Tristan had a discussion with you guys previously about how that estimation could have been wrong, because he does look really, really good. A sheep in Africa, you have an interesting question. You'd like to know which is the strongest of the two, the leopard or the hyena. Our hyena has moved off now. It looked like Sutu, and it's moved off now. Which is the strongest? The hyena has a stronger bite force, much stronger bite force, and also has quite a strong head and skull, stocky, and less agile than a leopard, less stealthy than a leopard by far as well. You can hear a hyena crashing through the bush very easily, but you won't hear a leopard. But the leopard's body and neck is so strong to allow them to hoist animals that are at least half their weight. They can hoist even their own weight up a tree. Sometimes they will struggle, it obviously depends, and they'll try to get the guts out of the animal before they hoist, especially if it's large. But in that sense, they are very strong, and they can pull up, you know, tens of kgs up a tree just by the grip in their mouths. They have very strong shoulders and neck. If I had to say who is the strongest, it'd be very difficult, because one has a very strong head and skull and bite force, and the other has a very strong body, strong neck, strong shoulders. You see when he walks, you can see the shoulder blades and the muscles on it as well. It's hard to tell, but if I'm going on sheer strength, I'm going to pick a hyena. It's also heavier. Average weight is heavier. Do you have birds irritating you again? What is going on? Just having a look around. It is. The birds are irritating him. Well, I hope he makes it up there so he can finish what's left of the carcass. There's not too much, but all the good bits, brain, eyes, and stuff like that, is still on there. Those are very nutritious and juicy, moist parts of the body, and you can get quite a bit of nutrients from there and moisture. Should be good for him. Hope he gets up there. But I think he'll wait for us to leave, which is going to be very soon, because we've come to that time where we say goodbye to you all. And thank you for your questions and your comments. It's always lovely to have you on board. We'll see you in the afternoon for Sunset Safari.